Good morning, students. Uh, we were doing accounting for banking companies, right? And as of now, we have done the various topics on this chapter which needs to be discussed. तो अभी तक हम लोगों ने we have done rebate on bill discounted, and then we have also done how to calculate income in case of performing asset and non-performing asset, how to calculate provision amount, right? There are different types of loans and advances category, and then we have learned how to draft profit and loss account, right? So today we will be going to the balance sheet, but before that we'll be covering few small topics, and then we'll be going to the full-fledged, again the full-fledged problem, which is the balance sheet which is left, right? So what is this capital adequacy ratio, right? I have told you that balance sheet you have total 12 schedule, profit and loss you have 4 schedules. 1 to 12 is balance sheet, and 13, 14, 15, 16 is PL, as we have seen our last classes. And 17 and 18 is notes to accounts, where the bank has to report several ratios, right? Such as cash reserve ratio, statutory liquidity ratio, right? All these things, disclosure needs to be given. Now, what is this one of the ratio which needs to be disclosed is capital adequacy ratio. So what is this ratio all about? This is capital to risk weighted assets. Now, there are some norms that the bank cannot lend, right, more than a certain percentage, right? Basically, this is to maintain the soundness and the stability of the banking system, right? To stop reckless lending. Why this ratio is calculated? And currently, this ratio should be 9%, right? So, capital adequacy ratio is the adequacy of capital resources of a bank, right, in relation to a risk associated with its operation. Now, what is this banking operations all about? Basically, they take money from public, right? That is deposits, and they maintain 4% of such deposits with RBI as cash reserve ratio, and they maintain something as liquidity, because the person who has deposited money might withdraw also. So approximately 19% of the deposits you have to maintain as statutory liquidity ratio in the form of cash, gold, unencumbered securities, right, which can be easily sellable. So I've already explained you in my first class that how banking operations basically are conducted, right? You get deposits from public, and you need to maintain CRR with RBI in current account. You have to maintain a current account with RBI, and that you have to place 4% of your total deposits. Further, you need to maintain liquidity with yourself. Statutory liquidity ratio currently it is 19%, right? Uh, Today it is 19%. So by the time you see the video, you accordingly need to see the current CRR and statutory liquidity ratio. So today we are recording the classes, and accordingly it's 4 and 19%. The one which I told you at the time of PL is statutory reserve. That is not liquidity, right? There is also a mandatory requirement that whatever you have earned, 25% of net profit you have to transfer to statutory reserve, right? This is maintaining separately this fund, right? And those were cash reserve ratio and liquidity. The remaining one you can lend. Now, when you lend, so there is a risk associated, right? So we need to find out the strength we are providing, right, to the banking system, right? Whatever deposits we have got, if entire amount we lend, right, and if the customers fail to pay, then there will be huge loss. So we need to find out the backup, that is the capital, right, provided by the shareholders of the company. So we are basically measuring the capital, which is the core capital. Sometimes it is also known as core capital, right? And to risk weighted assets, basically whatever loans and advances, right? Now why it is risk weighted? Because there are different types of asset which will have a different risk exposure. Different assets, different risk exposure. Suppose if the government is guaranteeing a particular customer, so in that case there is no risk of the bank, right? So basically whatever is your risk weighted assets, RWA, in short it is called as RWA. Basically you need to find out your capital with respect to your risk weight, and it should not be less than 9. So this is minimum 9%, right? So total risk, say 100, and 9 should be your core capital. Like in order to identify the short term solvency, we have seen the debt equity ratio. If equity is 1, then debt can be maximum 2. If equity is 2, the debt can be maximum 4. So here, if the risk is 9, if the total risk is 100, then your core capital has to be 9, right? So as of now, what I have told you, this is very simple, that capital adequacy ratio. We in note number 17 and 18, you need to maintain these ratios, right? So cash reserve ratio, which is 4% of demand and time deposits, right? That you have to maintain with RBI in current account with RBI. And then we have started that you have to maintain with the bank itself, so that you can meet your withdrawals, customers withdrawal, and the remaining you can lend. Now whenever you lend, there's a risk associated, right? So that total risk should be backed by something very solid, and something very solid is core capital provided by the shareholder. So the total assets minimum 9% should be provided by the shareholders. So it's the adequacy of capital resources of a bank in relation to risk associated with its operation. If I have an own fund, say for example I have an own fund of 20 lakhs, and if I do business, and if I incur loss, so this will cause harm only to the owner, not to any other person. But if I am doing business with borrower's money, right, if the lender's money, if I'm borrowing from someone, and if I do a loss, so in that case I have to cover up the loss of the lender, right? So when you are working with your own money, there is no problem. But when you are working with someone else's money, there are a lot of restrictions comes into picture, right? We have seen these restrictions in company law as well. Whenever there is a redemption of preference share, whenever there is a buyback of equity share, right? So there are a lot of restrictions which has been imposed by company law. So here also, this is the minimum capital you should have whenever you're working with someone else's money, right? Risk weighted assets. So first of all, you are going to see your assets. If it has been guaranteed by the government, there is no risk attached, right? So you are going to exclude those assets. But if it is guaranteed by someone else or by any third party, so there is always a risk involved, right? So risk weighted assets, right? Total risk ka 9% should be your core capital, right? Anyway, so how to calculate this capital adequacy ratio? That is capital divided by risk weighted assets. Basically the capital is divided into two parts, tier 1 plus tier 2 divided by risk weighted assets. Now tier 1 capital is basically the core. We have equity share capital, we have reserve and surplus, we have capital reserves, realized in cash, right? Then we must be having tier 2 capital. preference share capital, right? And then we have revaluation reserve, and revaluation reserve we are going to take only 45%, right? So basically tier 1 is core, right? Now risk weighted assets, that I will explain you while we do a problem, right? There will be a long chart of different types of risk associated with different types of asset, right? So let us do problem number 20, and then we, with the help of that, we'll explain you, right? So start reading problem number 20. So out of total risk associated with your operations, 9% should be your core capital, as simple as that. Basically, it provides the soundness, it stops reckless lending by the bank, right? Means whenever you lend, you need to see whether you are getting any proper security or not, right? So for if you are taking a proper security, in that case, risk will be very low, right? So that things we need to see. Anyway, so let us start with problem number 20, right? A commercial bank has the following uh, capital fund and assets. Segregate the capital fund into tier 1 and tier 2 capital and find out the risk adjusted asset, that is risk weighted assets, and risk weighted asset ratio. Fine. So basically if this capital adequacy ratio falls short, say for example if it is 7%, so RBI is requiring minimum 9% you should be your core capital, it means you have to bring more fresh issue of shares, right? Okay, fine. Equity share capital goes into tier 1. Statutory reserves, any kind of reserve will go into tier 1. Capital reserve realized in cash will go to tier 1. But they have told that 16 crore is due to revaluation. So that is tier 2. And remaining 62 is tier 1. Fine. Fine, fine. Okay. Then they have given us list of assets. When the balance is with RBI, so there is no risk involved. So it's 0%. In case of RBI cannot default, right? So I have cash balance maintained with RBI, so there is no default, so 0% risk with associated with this asset. So this was the capital, tier 1, tier 2 I'll calculate, and then I will calculate the risk weighted assets independent of this capital. And then the total risk minimum 9% should be your core capital. Every risk has to be backed. So the total risk 9% should be backed by core capital. So cash balance with RBI is 10%, no risk involved. If you keep balance with other bank, that is 20% risk involved. Fine. In case of investments, it is 100% risk involved, right? That money can become zero at any point of time. Then we have loans and advances guaranteed by the government. That's 0% risk when it is guaranteed by the government. By others, so there is a risk involved, 100%. Okay. Premises, furniture and fixture, 100% risk. It cannot have much realizable value. Off balance sheet item, when you are guaranteeing on behalf of any third party, right? Then also there is a risk involved, 100% risk. And similarly, acceptance, endorsement and letter of credit. Basically, when you are dealing with any foreign companies, so in that case, they might ask your bank to sign on your customer's behalf, right? On your behalf. So because banks acceptance will be regarded as a proper guarantee, but who no one knows me in Europe, right? But to a banking system, it becomes for us when there's a banking system, it becomes easy for us to get trade with the foreign countries. So in that case, bank has accepted the bill on my behalf, or bank has given guarantee on my behalf. That okay, fine. If this party does not pay, then I'll pay. Then I'll cease. So for that also, there's 100% risk involved. Anyway, so this is a very simple problem we will be doing right now. Okay, so let us start. So first of all, this car is equals to capital fund divided by risk weighted assets into 100. So first of all, note 1, tier 1 capital. All figures are in crores. I'll write all figures are in rupees crore, right? So equity share capital basically falls in tier 1. 500. Then you have statutory reserves, again tier 1, all kind of reserves. Capital reserve only the realized part. So out of 78, 16 is revaluation. So rest 62 is realized in cash. Right, rest 62 is realized in cash. Now I'll calculate I'll take revaluation reserve, that is 16. Don't forget that I'll take only 40%, 45% of that. So 16 into 45%. I guess it's absolutely fine, right? So total this much crores. Right now, tier 2 cannot exceed tier 1 in any case, right? This you have to remember. So this is my core capital. This is my capital invested by the shareholder. So this becomes of shareholder. This is also of shareholder. This is also of shareholder. And revaluation reserve, you're only going to take 45%. So all these belongs to the shareholder. So my capital fund is 839. Right, and let me calculate independently. Now I have already calculated the numerator. Now when I calculate the denominator, I have not see the numerator, right? So now note 2 is I will calculate my risk weighted assets. Right, assets weight rupees in crore, RWA rupees in crore. Right, Now if the balance is with RBI, cash balance with RBI, 0% risk, amount is 10 crore, so it will be, then you have to remember this balance with other bank, they will not mention it is 20%. This percentage you have to remember, it is 18, so we have 3.60. Then we have other investment, 100% risk is there. $36, right? Then we have loans and advances, guaranteed by government, 0% risk is involved, amount is 16.5. Loans and guaranteed by others, again 100% risk is involved, 5675. Then we have fixed asset. Fixed asset, in case of fixed asset, we have 100% risk involved. Right? Then we have off balance sheet item. These are shown as contingent liability. Right? That is how much? 800 plus 4800. So total up to 5600. So I will get RWA. How much? 11392.60. Right? So you can see any book and you will get different types of risk associated. Now if you invest in government securities, 0% risk, suppose they give investment in government securities, you can note it down. Investment in government securities, 0% risk. I'll just give you, since they have not given full list. Investment in government securities, 0% risk. Then we have you have invested in securities approved by central and state government. Investment in securities approved by state oblique central government. Basically, if you hear the word government, not government company, right? Investment in other approved security but not by government, but not by government, then we have 20%, right? So like this you can see the list. There's a huge list, right? So you can just give a reading to that, and things will be very clear to you. Right? Any book. So basically it is 11392.60, right? So we have 11392.60 and 839.20 in 200. 839.20 divided by 11392.60 in 200. It is 7.37. So the bank has to improve by introducing more own funds. Bank has to improve capital adequacy ratio. The bank has to improve capital adequacy ratio by introducing capital or reducing risk. Either you put in more capital or you reduce your risk, as simple as that. Stop giving guarantees, right? Stop accepting bill on behalf of customers, stop issuing LCs, right? So these things if you do, automatically your denominator will come down, so this ratio will improve. Right, so this is very simple. Basically, these the objective is to stop reckless lending, right? There's a way that you should lend. You should not lend your entire. That is why CRR, SLR concept is there for the capital adequacy ratio. It provides the soundness and stability to the banking system, right? So basically, the backup total risk of 9% has to be your core capital, right? So let us do one more problem. Problem number 21. Just give a reading. It's the same problem, right? We'll be doing it bit fast. Right now, so CAR is equals to capital fund by RWA into 100. So note 1 may first of all I'll calculate tier 1 capital. Again, all figures are in crores, all figures are in rupees crore. Right. So in tier 1 we have equity share capital 750. Then we have statutory reserve 150. We have share premium 150. Then capital reserve, of which 40 crores were due to revaluation. So basically capital reserve, here we are going to take realized in cash. Right. So we are going to take 40 is because of revaluations. I'm going to take 50. Is that fine? I guess it's clear to all of you, right? Now, okay. Now, if there are any losses and all, so that we are going to subtract from Taiwan. So basically, here they have said intangible assets. If you see the proper list, so when you calculate, so we are going to subtract intangible assets 15. So now we are going to get the Taiwan capital. The Taiwan indicates the core capital, right? So you have equity share capital, all kinds of reserves made out of profit, and then share premium, capital reserve realized in cash. So we don't take here preference share capital and revaluation reserve ka we take 45%, that too in tier 2, not years, right? So if you have any brought forward losses, that will be subtracted. Intangible asset has been subtracted. If there is any loss which has not yet been written off, that will be subtracted, right? So it is like 1035, I guess, right? It is 1085 crores. Now we have tier 2 capital, and in that we are only going to take revaluation reserve. How much we have? uh, 40, and we are going to take only 45%. That comes to 18. So therefore, right. So I'm just reading the Taiwan capital from one book, and you should just listen to me properly. We have equity share capital, we have statutory reserves, we have free reserves, that is security premium, general reserve, profit and loss account, right? We have non-cumulative preference shares, perpetual non-cumulative preference shares, right? Non-cumulative. So it means cumulative will be the one which we are talking about in tier 2, that is here we can take perpetual. Perpetual means equity, and non-cumulative we are going to take. And here it means cumulative. Right. And if you have any intangible asset, that will be subtracted from tier 1. Then we have current and brought forward losses, right? So these are the basic points. And in tier 2 we take cumulative preference shares, Revaluation reserve we take only 45%. And there are other item also, but that is not required for our exam purpose, right? Basically they will hit the concept. If they ask you, they will ask you the concept. They're not going to focus on whether you remember this percentage or not, or whether you remember what comes under tier 1, tier 2, right? They will not focus in depth on that, but simply they will focus on the concepts, right? So anyway, when you calculate capital fund, you subtract losses, intangible assets, right? So here we are doing the same thing. Anyway, so that is 1103. Okay. It is 1103. Right. Now I will calculate the risk weighted assets. Note 2. Risk first we have cash balance. It's 0%. Right. So it is 60 crores, we take nil. Then we have claims on banks. 20%, I already told you. So we take 34. If it is investment in government security, investment approved by central or state government, right, then it is 0%, but it is other investment, I'll take 100%. Guaranteed by Government of India. Loans and advances guaranteed by Government of India. 0%. Granted to staff of bank fully covered by superannuation mortgage. So staff of bank, you write the full one, 20% risk. So it is secured, right? And other loans and advances 100%. Then we have premises, furniture and fixture, right? 3925. Intangible asset has already been subtracted. Then we have off balance sheet items. 100%. Just take the total of it. It is given together 1550. Now you can get the total of it. RWA 13, just do the total. How much? Just do it. Is that fine? I guess it is absolutely okay with all of you, right? So again, the same no comments I am going to write. Bank should improve, right? So this was very simple. Either by introducing Tier 1 capital or by reducing the risk. Basically, the bank will stop giving excess guarantees, right? So automatically the risk will, if this is reduced, automatically the risk will reduce. Getting my point? Like that. Anyway, so this was one very small topic. Basically, they will in exam they will focus on the concept. They are not going to test that what is the risk weight for this particular asset, what is the risk weight, because they know that it changes time to time, right? It's basically depends upon RBI guidelines, right? And further, it's quite easy that you can take out any article or any book and you'll get these rates. But the ultimate concept is main. What it tries to explain, that you must learn. मालूम होना चाहिए कि क्या बोलना चाहता है, right? Anyway, so next we will talk about acceptance, endorsement, and other obligation. So basically, it's a contingent liability for the bank. If your customer fails to pay on whose behalf you have guaranteed, then your liability will come. So basically, you simply maintain one account of contingent liabilities, does not form part of balance sheet total, and it will be shown under the head Schedule 12 in balance sheet after the total, right? So acceptance, endorsements, and other obligations account. Basically, the bank has accepted bill. Bank has accepted bill oblique given guarantee to third party on behalf of his customer. Now why is it so? Because the bank has more credit worthiness than its customer. Bank has more credibility in comparison to its customer. Suppose I sell goods to you and I draw a bill and you accept and give it to me. When I go to the bank, right, uh, for discounting, the bank says, who is this person? I don't know. I don't know his credit worthiness, right? So what I will do, what that person will do, the bank person will insist his bank to accept on his behalf, right? So basically when the bill is accepted by the bank on request of customer, or when the bank gives guarantee on behalf of any customer, so in that case it is acceptance, endorsement and other obligation, right? So basically it is a contingent liability to be reported separately under schedule 2 12, sorry, and schedule 12 is contingent liabilities. Obviously the bank will take some kind of security from the customer on whose behalf it is accepting, right? So it gives more authenticity to the instrument, right? It increases the value of such instrument. It reduces the risk associated with such instrument, right? So for a bank, if bank is accepting bill on my behalf, or bank is giving guarantee to third party on my behalf, so it's a contingent liability. If I do not pay, then bank has to honor the payment. So that is why it is always a contingent liability. That is why it is always a contingent liability for the bank. Is that fine? Now, so basically in order to basically we have to find out what is the contingent liability at the end of the year. For that we have to find out the balance of contingent liabilities at the close of the year. Therefore, we will prepare acceptance, endorsements and right. So let us read problem number 22. right? This is very important. Problem number 22. Now, from the following details, prepare acceptance, endorsement, and other obligation account as you prepare in the general ledger. On 1st April 2018, acceptance not yet satisfied. Matlab, it has not yet been satisfied. That maybe the due date has not yet come, right? Acceptances not yet satisfied stood at 22 lakh 30,000, out of which 20 lakh were subsequently paid off by the client. If client pays off, so my liability is over, and rest bank has to honor. Anyway, in both the cases, contingent liability will decrease. If client paid, then my liability is over, contingent liability is also over. But if bank has to honor, if customer fails to pay, it means what? It means what? That contingent liability has been converted into liability. So in both the cases, whether it is honored by client, if it is honored by client, right? If it is honored by client, contingent liability of bank decreases. No actual liability for bank. If it is honored by bank, in that case also what will happen? If it is honored by bank, so anyway contingent liability of bank decreases, then actual liability for bank arises. Right? So anyway contingent liability will reduce. Okay. During the year I have accepted 6 more customers guarantee or bill. Amount has been given, and in the same bank had to honor, anyway contingent liability will reduce. Party paid off, again contingent liability will come down. Party failed to pay, bank had to honor, and again contingent liability will come down. Rest not satisfied, so this will be carried forward as closing balance. So what I have to do, I have to prepare acceptance, endorsements, and other obligation account. Now it is just a memorandum account, right? It does not form part of double entry system. So 1,418 by balance brought down 22 lakh 30,000, right? Now during the year up to 22 lakh, up to 20 lakh party paid off, so any contingent liability bank will come down. So we use the wording to constituents liability for acceptance oblique guarantee. So this is client paid off 20 lakh. Again, to constituents liability for acceptance guarantee, bank paid. So anyway contingent liability will come down. So what was there in opening balance that has been satisfied during the year either by client or by bank. So it is no more in contingent liability. Now during the year by fresh guarantee has been accepted. So that comes to 42 lakh 70,000. 6 new guarantee has been accepted by the bank. So whatever guarantee was there on the guarantee given by the bank last year that was there in the opening balance, client paid off. So anyway bank's no liability, contingent liability gone. Bank had to honor, again contingent liability will be gone. Na? In both the cases you can see that contingent liability is decreasing. So whether bank pays off or party pays off, contingent liability will come down and new guarantee it will increase, right? Now out of these 6 customers which new guarantee the bank has accepted, 10 lakh honored by bank. So 2 constituents liability for acceptance guarantee, right? 10th June bank honored, 30th September client honored, 30th November bank honored. Ten lakh, 12 lakh and 5 lakh. So the closing balance is 15 lakh. Out of 6, 3 has been satisfied, so 3 is remaining. 6 customer A, B, C, D, E, F. So A is this, B is this, C is this, D, E, F. So now this year balance sheet I will report 15,70,000. Is that fine? Okay. This is just simply a part of maintaining the contingent liability record. Right? Now, one more important question, very small question, right? That is bill for collection, right? Sometimes you might have learnt in your +2 level that bank acts as a clearing agency, right? Now, bill for discounting, that is separately we have covered. In that, actually the bank pays off the customer upon discounting and bank recovers the amount at the due date. Now, this is bill sent for collection, right? Now, customer has given its bill to the bank for collection purpose. The bank will go to the customer and collect the bill on behalf, right? So, this bill for collection is a asset as well as a liability for the bank same point of time. The amount is to be collected from drawee, and once it has been collected, the amount is to be paid to drawer, and I will get only a commission in between. Yes or no? So basically, in this case, I have to maintain two accounts: bill for collection asset account as well as bill for collection liability account. Now, it is not an actual asset or an actual liability, it is just a contingent asset and contingent liability. So, it is just like acceptance endorsement. So, here we have to maintain only one aspect, that is the liability part, only the contingent liability part. But here I will show both the aspects, right? And contingent asset is usually not disclosed, but this will be disclosed under Schedule 12. This we have done it in +2. Bank acts as a clearing agent. So, I will collect the amount from the drawee, and upon collection I will give it to the drawer and I will deduct my own commission. So, it is simultaneously asset as well as liability for me. So, this liability is what? Contingent liability. Only if I get, then only I am supposed to pay, otherwise I will not pay. So, that is why it will be shown under Schedule 12. So, in the given problem, right, which is problem number 23, you can just read. They have told us to prepare both bill for collection asset as well as liability. It is prepared on a memorandum basis. Very simple. Question 23. Prepare bill for collection asset as well as bill for collection liability. BOC asset. Right. Now, opening balance of bill for collection where 51 lakh. So, this is asset as well as liability. 51 lakh I will collect, and if it is collected I have to pay. Asset towards drawee and liability towards drawer. Bills received for collection during the year, fresh I have received. So again, asset will be debited, and again the liability will be credited. More bills have been received. 75 lakh. 75 lakh received during the year. Bills received. So asset is also increasing, liability also increasing. Bills collected during the year. So asset will decrease, 98 lakh 47,000. Similarly, liability will also decrease. Right? It has been collected, so I have received it from the drawee and paid to the drawer. So both asset and liability will come down. Dishonored. In that case also asset liability will come down, neither collected nor to be paid. So in that case also my asset will get reduced, 27 lakh 10,000. And similarly, it is not a liability also for me, because if I am collecting, then only I am paying you, otherwise not. This is honored and this is dishonored. So nothing much in that, it's very simple. When the customer gives me bill for collection, it is asset as well as liability for me. Asset towards drawee and liability towards drawer. So when I am getting more bills for collection, asset will increase, liability will also increase. When it is collected, asset will decrease, liability will decrease. If it is dishonored, then also asset will decrease, liability will decrease, right? Right? So that's it for today's session. This is very simple. And in the next session, we'll complete the remaining portion of banking company. That is, we'll do few problems of PL and balance sheet more, and we'll be done, right? So till then, goodbye, take care.